Good morning to all, and thank you to Professor Jaffet for giving me this opportunity. What I will be presenting before all of you are some tentative thoughts. I will just be placing these tentative thoughts before you all because you have been, you are experts working on this issue over a long period of time. I'm coming into this issue as a legal and human rights, not looking at anti-discrimination law or equal opportunity commission as a substitute for affirmative action in the private sector. I'm looking at these as complementary mechanisms to affirmative action in the private sector. So the Indian Constitution and the provisions Sudhir did talk about, and if the whole focus or goal of affirmative action is to create a level playing field with regard to access to opportunities, then what we are looking at is actually a model of substantive equality. And to achieve that substantive equality, my humble argument here would be that, yes, affirmative action in terms of reservation in the private sector or other affirmative action policies, they could be a beginning in terms of having Dalits in the private sector workforce. But what happens then? Because we may have a good composition of Dalits in the workforce, which itself is of course a big struggle. But thereafter, they would, in all probability, given the entrenchment of discrimination against Dalits that happens in our country, in all probability, they are going to be discriminated within that job. So what is the mechanism to take care of that, which could complement affirmative action in the private sector? And in the last session, we had Mr. Arumugham Raju, who talked about these four people who had been discriminated in their jobs. And he talked about one of them who had been in the same job for about 17 years, given different designations, but made to do exactly the same thing. The kind of reservations that we are talking about, will that really address that question? So we need to look at something else to complement affirmative action in the private sector, especially in terms of reservation. And that is where I feel that it's important, in addition to having the inclusion approach which we are talking about, it's also important to look at an equality approach, and where we have a legal framework as well as a monitoring institution. And today, with the shrinking of the public sector, we look at deprived groups experiencing discrimination, particularly in educational institutions and in employment. And for that kind of discrimination that happens in the private sector, there is really no forum for redress. So very briefly about the Equal Opportunity Commission, which has been proposed in India. It was first proposed by the Sachar Committee report in 2006 as a tool to monitor, address, and redress discrimination against minorities. And by minorities here, it is minorities in a very broad sense, which includes Dalits, but is not only, it is not limited to Dalits. In August 2007, the government of India established a committee headed by Dr. Madhav Menon to determine the scope, structure, and functions of this Equal Opportunity Commission. And it came up with its report in 2008, and with a draft bill which gave a legislative framework for this. And this is looked at as a possible mechanism to deal with discrimination and denial of opportunities, both in the public sector and in the private sector, across a whole range of underprivileged groups or marginalized sections of the population, including Dalits. So, salient features: it has a broad-based mandate, it deals with deprived groups, and the definition of deprived groups is very, very loosely defined to enable new groups to be included. So it is not a very tight, watertight kind of a compartment. Applies to both state and non-state actors and enterprises. Key domains that it will look at are education and employment, which are exactly the domains where a majority of the discrimination faced by Dalits exists. Main function is formulation of a good practices code. Now, this good practices code is supposed to be formulated in consultation with various stakeholders, and once it is formulated, it is supposed to be followed, and if it is not followed, that can lead to punishable offenses. So there is a criminal law element that is brought in order to implement this. And aggrieved individuals can also approach high courts and Supreme Court for through the writ jurisdiction, but they have to have the burden of proof will be on them. As of now, the writ jurisdiction is only for any kind of remedies against the public sector, against state health institutions. Now, the powers envisaged and the functions envisaged are very, very broad-based. Very quickly, one aspect is research, gathering data, and so on. Another aspect is monitoring and auditing the impact of laws and policies. Thirdly, advising, providing consultation. Fourthly, intervening in law and policy formulation. And fifthly, very importantly, redress of grievances. And it is also meant to shape public opinion. So what I'm submitting before this August gathering is that the Equal Opportunities Commission is one potential mechanism to complement affirmative action in the private sector. The other aspect is the anti-discrimination law in India. As Sudhir had already mentioned, we have no one anti-discrimination law within the country. We have various legislations. For example, the Maternity Benefit Act prohibits discrimination on the ground of pregnancy, and the Sexual Harassment of Women at the Workplace Act prohibits discrimination by way of sexual harassment at the workplace. Then we have a Disabilities Related Act and so on, which deals with specific kind of discrimination for specific sectors. But we have no comprehensive law to deal with it. Now, there is a proposed anti-discrimination law, which is basically a civil society initiative. Alternative Law Forum and Lawyers Collective are two civil society groups which have been working on this and which have advocated for it. And I look at this again as a complementing mechanism, not as a substitute. So in terms of a complementing mechanism, what is the potential that it has? It could address, redress, denial of opportunity and disadvantage. And this is not only at the stage of, at the entry point to a private sector company, but even subsequently in work, there may be many, many subtle forms of, it could be direct or indirect forms of discrimination. Denial of promotions is one possibility, but even things like, you know, making a person work overtime or denying an opportunity to be in a meeting with an important client, denying many kinds of opportunities which could actually result in professional growth. So there are these subtle forms of discrimination that can happen, and there is possibly a potential that anti-discrimination law can bring in addition to the affirmative action that Sudhir talked about. And the grounds of discrimination again are broad: caste, class, religion, sex, nationality, and so on. So the intersectionality is also somewhere it can be captured. For example, if we have a Dalit Muslim woman who is discriminated in the private sector, then is it because she's Dalit, is it because she's woman, or is it because she's Muslim? It's a combination of all three. And somewhere the anti-discrimination law could cover that kind of discrimination. And it calls for reasonable accommodation. So there has to be some kind of a reasonable accommodation that is made to reduce that disadvantage or to eliminate that disadvantage. And here again, the duty bearers are public and private authorities. So this is my last slide, and this is what I end with. If we look at the proposed legal remedies as far as the Dalit issue is concerned, if our major aim is to have equal citizenship rights for Dalits, if that is our major aim, as far as atrocities and violence against Dalits are concerned, we have the SC/ST Act, as well as the General Criminal Law. For untouchability, enforcing religious social disabilities, we have the Protection of Civil Rights Act. For barriers to education and employment, we have reservation in the public sector, and we are thinking of reservation in the private sector. But as far as denial of opportunities in the public sector, it could be, one could have remedies through the High Court or the Supreme Court, but for denial of opportunities in the private sector, we could look at Equal Opportunities Commission as well as an anti-discrimination law. So I would end with this note that, of course, as legal scholars, we know the limitations of law, and law alone will not bring transformational change. Legal processes have to be accompanied by social, political, and economic processes. So with that, I would end. Thank you.